Hello and welcome to the Optics Force product guide. Today we're going to speak about picking the right optic for your subcompact pistol. So there are many optics available on the market today. Today I kind of want to focus on some of the most popular that also have different style footprints. Now we're going to speak about what a footprint is in a second, but these are kind of like different varieties you're able to take a look at in regards to popularity, durability, and for the use of smaller framed guns. So all the optics we're going to be speaking about are optics that are going to fit on something like your Glock 43X, your Glock 48, your SIG P365, Springfield Hellcat. These are the smaller size pistols that are available on the market in which these optics will be most appropriate. So what we're going to do is, you might see me reference to my notes because there is quite a lot to speak about today, is we're going to start off with kind of like the creator of this design and then move around to the different footprints so you get a better understanding of which optic might be right for you. So starting off with the first would be the Trijicon RMR CC. Now this is the Trijicon's version of their RMR, which is now miniaturized. So the RMR is extremely popular. It has the longest track record for durability and is a very, very known popular optic when it comes to duty use. Now they now have this offering in the concealed carry version with the same known durability and reliability from Trijicon, and it really kind of makes the stand for the other optics that are currently available on the market. Now the reason why we're speaking about this one first is that Trijicon is kind of known to create the standard footprint for optics that are on the market. Now what a footprint is that on the bottom of the optic, there are different ways it's able to be mounted and set up on your pistol. Now what's important, the easiest way to find out what footprint your firearm is using is to simply Google the firearm that you have and write footprint, and it will tell you which version it might have. So if it has the Trijicon RMR CC footprint, then what that means is that this will immediately fit onto the slide perfectly and it shouldn't be a problem. Now before we get too in depth with everything else, I want to show you how it's easy to tell if your gun is optics ready. Now, it's very common that we might have people who will call, ask about an optic and say that it's not fitting, but they might notice that it wasn't actually milled to be ready to use an optic. So what I mean is, if you look at this slide right over here, there's a very clear sign that there's a plate. It has two screws on top, which are removable. And once it's removable, you can then put the optic in place of that plate. If your slide does not have this plate, then it might not actually be ready to be able to house an optic. So first check to make sure that your slide is ready to be able to use an optic, and then from there it'll be easier for you to determine which optic you should get. So this particular Trijicon RMR CC is using a 3.25 MOA dot, which is a very, very popular dot when it comes to red dots. This is an open emitter optic, which means there's only one piece of glass on the front and no piece of glass on the rear portion of the optic. And then there's also on the right and left side of the optic is going to be the adjustments for the brightness of the reticle. And then on the top and right side of the optic is the adjustments to make sure the reticle is zeroed correctly. One of the potential downsides to take into account when it comes to the Trijicon RMR is that the battery is mounted on the bottom of the optic, which means anytime you need to change the battery, the optic needs to be removed from the firearm, the battery replaced, and then when you put it back on, it's important to reconfirm your zero to make sure it's still hitting where it needs to be hitting. So this is not by any means a bad optic choice. That's just a consideration to have when it comes to other options that are now available on the market. Moving along from there, the newest available offering on the market, this is the Vortex Defender CCW. This is Vortex's take on the miniaturized optic setup. Now, this is using a slightly different footprint. We're going to do a side-by-side comparison for you. This is what's referred to as the Shield RMS footprint. So the footprint is a little bit different. Now, this is where it's good to speak about there's different plates. Plates, like the one that comes with the Vortex option, is they may understand that you're not using the standard footprint from other places. So in the box will be included a plate that will be able to be used depending on the type of gun that you're using. Again, it is important to check and figure out which footprint your gun uses, so it'll be much easier for you to make a decision on whether you need a plate or not, and make a decision on which optic you want to choose. Now on the Optics Force website, there's a wide selection of offerings for plates from C&H Precision, which is pretty much the gold standard in plate offerings on the market today. So if you're looking for an optic to match the gun that you're using, you can definitely check those out as well. Now, this optic is going to be using a button design similar to the Trijicon RMR. There's one button on each side of the optic to adjust the brightness, and this has a top-fed battery, which means you never need to remove the optic from the gun when you're changing the battery. It's just removable from the top, so you never need to worry about your zero going out of place. We do have a full dedicated video on this particular optic on the channel as well, and you can definitely check this out. This optic also does come with quite a lot lot of accessories, including plates that will allow you to mount it to a rifle or shotgun setup if that's something you prefer to be able to do. And it's very interesting as a unique setup, as a unique offering that's currently available on the market. The one downside I would say to this particular optic is, unlike the other optics that we're going to be speaking about today, this has a battery life of around 9,500 hours, which might sound like a lot, but in comparison, it's definitely the lowest offering that's around. So in regards to battery life, that's just the consideration I would have when it comes to choosing this particular optic. The next offering we're going to be looking at is from Holosun. This is the 507K. Now there is a 407K and a 507K. The 507K, which is the one I'm holding right now, is an offering where it has their MRS system, which is their multi-reticle system, which means you could choose between a single dot, a circle, and a dot and a circle combination. So you have 3 reticle options that you could choose from based on your preference. This particular one is actually using the green reticle, but there's also offerings in red, and it does come packed with a lot of great features. Stepping up in battery life, the battery life on this optic is 50,000 hours, unlike the Vortex optic, which we just showed, which is 9,500. So definitely a huge step in regards to being able to have a longer lasting battery. The battery is located on the right side of the optic. So again, you don't need to remove it at any point from the gun. You just simply switch it from the side. And the brightness control settings are both on the left side to be able to control the brightness you prefer. There are different dot sizes you're able to choose from. Again, depending on the reticle that you're using, you'll be able to choose that. There are offerings that are simply a 6 MOA dot. This one again is their multi-reticle system. So it has a smaller center dot with a 32 MOA ring, and you could choose again between the 3 offerings that are available. This is a very popular option and a really great option when it comes to concealed carry use. It even has a recess in the back to be able to help co-witness your sights, to be able to see through them. So if something does happen to the optic, you could still use your backup sights as a good replacement. The last optic we're going to look at, and one that's also extremely popular, this is the EPS carry. Now, unlike any of the other optics we've shown today, the reason why this is extremely popular and used by a lot of people for very serious use is that this is a closed emitter optic, which means there are 2 pieces of glass, one in the front and one in the back, which means that no dust, debris, or anything like that is able to get into the area of the glass and block your vision. Now, even if it does get some mud in the front or something like that, you can simply wipe it with your finger and you'll be good to go. These other optics have a risk that any dust, debris, mud, things you might be dealing with that could get inside, and it could block the reticle from being displayed, which is why closed emitter optics are quite popular and a very good option for people who are using their guns very seriously. Now, the last 2 optics we showed from Holosun also do have a different footprint, but similar to the Vortex as well, they come with plates that you're able to get to adapt it to different situations. The 507K and the 407K do have options directly from CNH Precision, which we do offer on the website. And then this one that comes from Holosun has its own plate, as well as, again, also other offerings you're able to get in regards to plate adapters. This also does have the recess rear notch, which means you can align it with your backup sights. The battery is located on the right side, just like the other offering, so you never really need to remove it from the firearm. And the larger size buttons are going to be on the left side of the optic. So again, you can adjust the brightness based on your preference. So these are kind of the most popular optics we're seeing people starting to use. They all have great options of what you're able to use them for. A lot of it will come down to preference. If you're looking for strictly durability, the one that currently has the longest track record for design is the Trijicon RMR. They are just known for their durability and long lasting. My personal preference and what I'm using on most of my firearms is the Holosun EPS, which is again a closed emitter optic, which is a great option for concealed carry use or for duty use, as well as these options for simpler designs. If you're looking for something straightforward and that works well, there's nothing wrong with the 407K, the 507K, or the Vortex Defender. So if you're looking for any of these offerings, you can head over to opticsforce.com and get more information there.